New Zealand's biggest gap year was an epic adventure that Laura and I decided to tackle a couple of years ago. We had to do 365 activities in 365 days all around New Zealand, and this is day 171. We are with Elm Wildlife Tour and we're going to check out some of the most rarest wildlife in the country, i.e. the yellow-eyed penguin and some sea lions in Dunedin. Join me at the end of the video when I'm going to go over all the questions you had the first time we published it. This morning we are being picked up right from the city centre of the lovely town of Dunedin, and we're joining the team from Elm Wildlife Tour in a journey through the best wildlife spot of the area. The Otago Peninsula is a hotspot for wildlife, and the first encounter that we have is with the paradise shelduck, which is a pretty unusual duck, as unlike any other duck species, the female is actually the colourful one while the male is usually black and dark grey.
Our guide today is Donna, who is giving us absolutely heaps of information. She's super knowledgeable about the wildlife in the Otago Peninsula. And we are seeing so many estuarine and marine birds to start with, and we get a little checklist which I am super enthusiastic about, so we can tick off the birds we're seeing along the way. And the bird that I'm ticking off the list right now is the royal spoonbill, which is the most unusual looking bird I have ever seen with its spoon-shaped bill. I am proudly checking it off the list before we arrive at the Royal Albatross Centre.
The Albatross Centre is located right on the end of the Otago Peninsula. It is super accessible from Dunedin, and this is an awesome place to visit. We are watching those gigantic seabirds fly above our head. In fact, they are the largest seabirds in the world, and the southern royal albatross is nesting right on this peninsula, which is one of the largest mainland colony of such a bird in the world. It's really a fascinating bird, and we spend heaps of time watching them behave both on land and in the air, while Donna is telling us a lot of facts about them. It's a really cool place to visit, and in fact we are going to be spending a whole day visiting the entire center right here later on, and for that reason we're hopping back in the van toward our next destination because there is much more to see in the area.
We're now arriving at this really awesome beach full of wildlife, and it's actually private conservation land, so you can only access this beach with Elm Wildlife Tours. We're walking down the path, then all of a sudden, there's something in front of us. Donna sees a rustling in the bushes.
At first, nobody really knows what that is, but everybody's super excited. We're here to see super rare wildlife, and if Donna stops, that means that we've found something. It's a beautiful specimen of a yellow-eyed penguin. This is absolutely amazing to be right in front of one of those, because those are some of the rarest penguins in the world, with only a little over 5,000 specimens left in the wild. At first, the whole group is super excited, and there's some hoes and some ha's, and oh my god, everybody is in awe to be so close to one of those penguins. But Donna quickly quiets us down, because she knows that if we are staying standstill and quiet, the penguin is even going to come even closer and get on his merry way right before our eyes. She really has a lot of knowledge on the behavior of those birds to make sure that we have the best viewing experience ever. The thing that strikes me the most with that yellow-eyed penguin right in front of us is its sheer size. I'm really surprised that they can grow that big, and I'm asking Donna a little bit more information about it, and she tells me that yellow-eyed penguins are the 4th largest species of penguins in the world, growing up to 79 centimeters long. This penguin really looks like it's feeling right at home in this place, and this is because this entire conservation area has been made to look exactly like the environment by the team from Elm Wildlife, which are actually planting trees and native bush here all the time, and these penguins look super happy about it. In fact, I'm pretty sure right here is singing the praises of Elm Wildlife Tours.
Or maybe he was just calling his mate. Anyway, we are now making our way down the path, actually finally getting to the bottom of that path to the beach, where this whole beach is absolutely full of wildlife. We are seeing another super rare species here, which is the New Zealand sea lions. There's only a population of around 12,000 of these New Zealand sea lions, and they can only be found in the Otago Peninsula, around the Southland region as well as the sub-Antarctic islands. This beach is full of male sea lions doing some pretty gross things, but it's actually really awesome how close we can get to these sea lions to get some super close-up viewings. And that's really thanks to Donna knowing the behavior of the sea lions and making sure it's actually safe to get close to them, because usually they're pretty confident around humans and they won't mind being aggressive. At this point of the tour, we start making our way further down the beach because now we've just spotted that the yellow-eyed penguins are making their way from the ocean after a long day's fishing. So hopefully we'll get to see them reunited with their mates.
And this is really one of the main draw cards to join Elm Wildlife Tour, because we really want to see the yellow-eyed penguin coming back from a long day's fishing and reuniting with their mate, which is usually staying ashore, minding eggs, newborn chicks, or even just minding the nest. And this is a much better and safer way to see the yellow-eyed penguins than doing it on your own, when you will be very much tempted to behave recklessly around those very rare birds. Elm Wildlife Tour has built some kind of hidden houses in the cliff where we are able to follow the whole journey of those yellow-eyed penguins up the cliff to reunite with their mate. It's a really cool thing, and we are moving on from one house to the other all the way up to the nest. Usually yellow-eyed penguins are pretty antisocial aside from their one mate, and that's one of the reasons why they are living in those kind of bushy grassland, because if they cannot hide, they usually do not breed. And the hope in this very area is to provide them with the perfect condition for breeding. So right here we are getting the ultimate pleasure to see the male reuniting with the female, and he's taking really good care of himself, making sure he's super clean for her to see him.
You took. It's exciting.
Oh my god, the nest right outside has a couple of yellow-eyed penguin chicks. I can't believe that we're getting this close to spotting those little chicks being fed by their mother. Even Donna, who does these tours every single evening, was not aware that there were chicks already born in this nest, so we are getting to be the first people to see these little yellow-eyed penguin chicks. But it looks like we are a lot more excited to see the chicks than the male is, because he's just cleaning himself and doing his own thing outside of the nest. I can't believe how much we have seen on this wildlife tour so far, and we are only halfway, because now we're making our way back up the track to go to the next section of the Elm Wildlife Tours. Here we are getting an amazing viewing of a super active seal colony. Admittedly, we have seen quite a few New Zealand fur seal colonies before, but this one is so much more active than any one that we've seen. We are in prime position right on this cliff edge, hidden by the hides, so that we are not disturbing the seals whatsoever, and that way they are doing their own thing and actually doing some pretty entertaining stuff.
It is very rare for us to actually being able to see New Zealand fur seal behave that way so up close, because they are a protective species in New Zealand and you have to stay at least 10 meters away from them when seeing them in the wild. This is where this hide is so important, because we can stay 10 meters without scaring them and with being able to see so much. It's so cool. New Zealand fur seals spends most of their day at sea fishing and obviously gathering a lot of fat, and it's quite interesting to see them when it's the evening like today, because that's the time where they're the most active. They're coming back from fishing, gathering back, doing a bit of social stuff like biting each other's nose, a little bit of fighting, trying to sway a couple of female, or the very small seals playing with the really massive ones. And then after, they are tucking themselves to sleep. It's really interesting to be able to see all of that. It's basically the best time of the day to do such a tour. And these seal colonies and the yellow-eyed penguin viewing that we got today explain why this tour is starting so late. It usually starts around 4 p.m. and although it does last between 5 to 6 hours, really time flies. It's incredible how much we're seeing and how little we see in the time pass. It is super hard to tear ourselves away from the fur seal colony. Donna is really asking us to leave. It's like, oh yeah, it's time, we need to get back to the shuttle, but we just can't pull ourselves away from it. It's so cool. So before Donna is taking us out of this hide, I'm gonna give you one last fact about the New Zealand fur seal. Just time to tell you that New Zealand fur seal are often said not to be true seals because they do have ears, and that's the only seal species in the world to have some.
It's been an awesome introduction to Dunedin, but make sure to join us tomorrow as we have a little change of pace as we go to Cadbury World for a chocolate factory tour. It's a kid's dream.
And I've never seen one of these in New Zealand before, so I am, consider me spoon-billed. So consider me spoon-billed.
Alright guys, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. I really love wildlife, so it's pretty much always a guaranteed win every time we do one of those tours. So we didn't have much comment the first time we published the video. We had Kiwi08328382, some numbers, say such a great and amazing video. We have done this too a few months ago and it was awesome to watch your film as a flashback. Thank you so much. Well, you're very welcome. I'm really glad to know that this kind of triggers some happy memories. We had Dan that says great video and great page you have going. And Why in the World that said he hasn't done these activities just yet. So here you go. I hope that this inspired you to do this activity. If you do want to plan a better trip to New Zealand that includes more activities and more hidden gems, you can check out nzpocketguide.com. It is entirely free to use and it's the largest travel guide to New Zealand. It's written by Laura and I. And the last thing is you can like and subscribe because YouTube always tells me to tell you to like and subscribe. So here you go. Have an awesome adventure around New Zealand and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.